two. Although I really did have an amazing experience for myself. That was the other piece of it. And because I have you as a friend, I recognize the seriousness of that. But you know how you can't, how when you're trying to impress the seriousness on somebody else, they can't hear it. Because it's like, oh, like, that's no big deal. And I'm thinking like, it's a big deal.
Well, there's safety in minimizing.
Yeah. So, yes. So it's Thursday.
It is Thursday. And I get to go to the hospital today, and I get to go see my baby face to face. My son is going to bring her down with her little oxygen tank down to Starbucks. And she said that she would eat broccoli, but only my broccoli. So my mom made her some chicken because she only eats two people's chicken, my mother's chicken and her father's chicken. So my mom made the chicken. My mom made the broccoli too. And I'm going to take it down. I made her some ginger tea with some raw ginger. And so we're going to take it down, and I'm going to get to see her about 9:30ish, 10 o'clock today.
Oh, nice.
He's going to bring her down. He goes, gets her coffee. And so we'll see what happens. Hopefully, it won't be a debacle. Huh?
I said, that's beautiful and exciting.
No, I'm looking forward to it.
Yay. So, and then what day do you leave on? Do you leave over the weekend, or are you leaving on Monday?
I leave on Tuesday morning.
Okay.
Tuesday morning.
Okay. Cool. So, but this is exciting. You get to see 7. I have to stand up. I gotta go get my glass of water because I drink when you talk. So I can already feel that I need some water. But
probably do too. Terrible. Oh, let me stop saying it.
Yeah, but I am so I get so excited about everything. Good morning, Ruth.
Good morning.
I get so excited about some of everything. Life is just exciting and juicy to me. And so it's okay. So let me tell you how I kind of relate to this. Sometimes that reminds me of Jessica when I do that. Because Jessica would be like,
okay, yes.
She's there like looking up in like there's something that's up above her eyelids, and so she'll go,
a light bulb.
Yeah. So let me tell you how this is for me. I mean, everybody here knows that I, went through a rape, and I went into therapy. And I remember going into therapy because I knew that I needed to work through some issues because I had been going out and doing these, because I started working for the Rape Crisis Center, like, oh, I got it. So, I got my stuff down, right? I'm handling my stuff. And what does handling it look like? It looks like a person who puts on a whole bunch of makeup to cover up all the blemishes that they got and then think that they straight. Like, this is beauty. And it's like, no, if you need to use that much makeup, there's something else, some other work that you need to do on their skin, right? But we don't think of it that way because we're a cover-up society, right? We just put some paint on it and call it good. So anyway, but when I was going out doing these trainings for the Rape Crisis Center, it was like when I started hearing other people, I kept thinking to myself, like, I do the same thing. Like, what? And I kept hearing my own story over and over again in other people who had been raped. And so I was like, oh, I gotta go get some help, because my thought is that I wasn't gonna let somebody who, who decided to do that, or who, who wanted to take my choices from me, that person is not going to reside in me. Not just that it's not present to mine, but if it is still the puppeteer that's pulling my strings in a sense, that was not going to be stand with me. So I just felt like I needed to get in therapy. So I got into therapy, and I just happened to get this amazing therapist, who at the time I did not know. When she took me as her client, I just went in, and you know how you go in, well, you go into a clinic and they just assign somebody to you. I didn't know who she was, and she didn't tell me her background and all this stuff, but she just happened to be a former director of a rape crisis center, but she never disclosed that to me, which is cool. I got, got no issues with that. But she was the one who, she was telling me, she was like, I'm just, walking along with you through this journey, right? I'm just, and so but one of the things that I knew is that before I went in, there was a Sandra before I started therapy, and that Sandra was numb, right? I didn't really have any feelings. And I guess for me, I guess the reason why I'm saying that is because I know that there's somebody out there that's watching, that this may not, you may think like, oh yeah, I feel anger or I feel disappointment or I feel this, but the numbness I'm talking about is a different type of numb. It's not that the tactile feelings that I'm talking about, or the anger and stuff. I'm talking about feeling, I'm talking about being present in your feelings, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And so what going through that allowed me to do was to come present, was to be in the moment. And even though it was scary as heck, because I didn't feel like I was safe in myself, it allowed me to be present. And so even yesterday or day before yesterday, when I had my big aha moment, I was thinking to myself, like, man, I didn't know that there was still, like, I had come miles. so if I'm here, it seems like I've been coming, but now all of a sudden I get a realization that I may be hovering, but I wasn't,
Mm-hmm.
And so it's so much nicer when everybody is present, and when you're present, like having known the difference between not present and present is an amazing feeling.
Mm-hmm. And it's not something that we have to kind of look out and say, well, I wonder if so-and-so is present or what, because I imagine that people are as present as they can be in the moment that they're present.
Yeah. And I'm not, and one of the things I know too is we do this in church, we do it in therapy, we do it everywhere we go. Ooh, so-and-so should be here to hear this, right? I ain't trying to do nobody else's stuff but mine. I ain't sitting there worrying about whether or not, ooh, you should hear this. Like, I got friends that, you may decide or think like, oh man, they need to do some work, but it's their choice to make.
The work for them to do. Yeah.
And when they are ready, if they ever get ready, It's still theirs to do. It's not, I can't push you. I
No.
may want to encourage you. I may say, you know, did you get your steps in? But I can't take your steps.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I, they got little apps for that on those devices anyway. You know, you can. I remember thinking to myself, well, you know, it gets bad when you buy one of those little things and you're so concerned about feeding it that you never think about, oh, I'm really doing this for myself. So
Mm-hmm.
it's just the kind of
That's
insidious.
very interesting though, because it's designed so that you not think about yourself. It's designed that you touch the button like a lab rat. It's designed for it's designed for that.
That's
It's
exactly what
designed
it's
for
like that.
yeah.
You know, and I'm glad you brought the lab rat back because what I was doing, and that's why I stopped wearing mines, because what I was doing was, girl, I'm gonna tell you how bad it is. I sit there thinking to myself, I'm gonna put this thing on the dog because I didn't get my 10,000 in today. What kind of insidious stuff is that? Where you just wait a minute, or you just sit there like this in the chair, like I just got to
There is
get
a
my.
vibrational escrow that comes with your own intentional efforting. And for whatever reason, that vibrational escrow is not encouraged on purpose for whatever reason in some areas of our journey. Um,
So go ahead.
that's all, like the Weight Watchers points. I don't know if you've ever done a Weight Watchers point system. I'm no longer eating for me. I'm eating to have so many points.
Yeah. And see, we got to get to the point
It's
where
not about me using my self-control and look at me. I'm I'm creating these portions. I can do this. This is my lifestyle. This is what works for me. I'm shrinking my stomach. No, I'm worried about 22 points.
see, that is just
You
there's
get
a
to the point where
site,
I know how to do points without writing points down. I know how many points.
and people bragging about that, you know, like, oh, I know my point system, I know this, I know that. And yes, but that's, you know, but there's so much that is built up around that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you know, churches, we got the same way of trying to get people to feel as if, one of the things that this church that I used to go to did was they published everybody's tithes.
Oh, yeah, those.
You
What
know,
is that? What is that?
right, right. Oh my God. You know, you used to just go down the list looking at, you know, and I don't know if they put them in alphabetical order or dollar amount order, but they put
I
it,
hope it was alphabetical because that would
they
be
put it
really
in
ridiculous.
the bulletin.
I
I was
remember
just,
that. I
yeah,
remember that. I remember that experience.
yeah. I was just like, ugh. So that's the incentive, like, you know. So yeah, so you know, so when I'm saying that we do this work for ourselves, it's not for the Fitbit, it's not for Weight Watchers, it's not for, you know, for anybody, not for Sandra or for Stephanie,
Right.
right? We have to do this work for ourselves and know that we are worth it,
Yeah,
right?
not a measurable outcome, but a livable
Yeah,
outcome. Like,
yeah.
how am I living? And yeah, how am I living based on choices that I've made or healings that I decided to heal? Kind of like what we talked about yesterday, that healing is not linear, it's circular. And so if today I'm focused on body image, that doesn't exclude me not working on my trauma. It just means that this is a part where I'm at in the circle of my growth and my journey.
Yeah. Yeah. So So yeah, so we can, there's so much here to just kind of like sink our teeth into, to look at and to explore within ourselves. And when we're doing the work, it just, I mean, on the other side of it, like, I think Sarika said one day that this really helps me with my PTSD, right? And and it's funny because sometimes by accident, we go in and we start doing, say for instance, we start doing yoga because we need to get the exercise in. But then
Mhm.
we find out that it's not just exercise.
No,
It's
babe.
it's
Mm-mm.
embodiment. It is, breathing into spaces and seeing where we're holding trauma in our bodies.
It's like our highest selves are always directing us, and we are under the illusion that we are doing the directing. But if we are mindful of where this journey is taking me, like today, there was a conversation I had this morning that was not on my agenda to have, but I'm so grateful that I had it. It was like my highest self knew I needed to have that experience. And the
Yeah.
same thing happened for yoga, because I've been to yoga a couple of times. I did hot yoga in Kansas. That was my first real yoga experience. I got tons of yoga videos, but I started playing them for years and I just couldn't get with it. I could get with the sitting pieces, but I couldn't get with the movements. I think my perfectionist wanted to know if I was doing it right, blah, blah, blah.
Mhm.
So then I come here in the midst of what I now know is a major crisis when I got home. And then somebody introduced me to yoga, and the person brought me to the place and never have been back. Right. And then I started going over here to that the Cleveland Heights Center right there, that yoga studio there. And I started going there so faithfully, and things were coming to me that I didn't even know were supposed to come to me, or that were supposed to happen to me, or laying and just being still and examining all. I didn't even know that I needed that for me. But
Mhm.
if I feel like our highest selves navigate, and when we don't resist, or if we pay attention, I don't know what it is, but I just find my journey to have been where my highest self is constantly navigating me and sitting in the seat that I need to be sat in at the right appointed time. Oh
Right.
my God, if I
Yeah.
had that awareness just 10 years ago.
Intentional. That's my
Yes,
song.
he's intentional. Yeah.
He is intentional always. All things are working for my good. And if we could just sit in that space, we would give up resisting stuff so much, I think,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
because that's what so many of us do. We sit in a space of resistance, like, yeah, no, not that, right?
Shaming, yeah, devaluing
Oh
our
man.
experience. And now that we're learning that it's stuff is passed down to us, we don't have that much dominion as we imagine. We got to honor the stuff that is influencing. That's what, maybe not dominion, but the influence. We have to honor that there are influences that we know nothing of,
Mm-hmm.
and that looking and seeing who's showing up,
I'm trying to turn my
which
lights
grandparent or great grandparent or what ghost is, huh?
down. I
What you
was
say?
trying to turn my light down. I look like a light
Oh,
bulb to me, but go ahead. But
oh,
yes, yes, this is what's showing up, and just to be centered in that, whatever space that is, just to be centered in that, and see what it is. Let me see what's on the agenda today. Sometimes that's what
mhm.
we got to ask, what's
That's
on the
good.
agenda today.
Mhm.
And be of the mindset that I'm not trying to run, I'm not trying to hide. And so yeah, so it's just like that. So we think we're here for one thing, and spirit sets us up for something totally different,
Yes.
and it's all right on time. Yes. So anyway, today we get to delve back into this and thinking with the mindset that it is Thursday, and I got one more day with you until until she's leaving me for a whole week. So I want to just work on this there. So I am so excited about all of this stuff, y'all. And you know, and the funny thing is yesterday I was, you know, I kept saying to everybody, "Oh, yesterday was so good. Go back and listen."
It was.
But you know, it's interesting because you know how I used to, well, in church, I would, you know, I would like start and do my sermon. And then there's this temptation when people come in late or right when you're about to leave, you want to circle back and talk about what you started off with. And I'm like, no, because
I can't stand that. I'll be like,
yeah, they came in when they were supposed to come in. You heard what you were supposed to hear. And if you don't go back and listen to it, it's all good. But I'm just keep telling people, but ew, it was good. You know, but you hear what you're supposed to hear. It was what you heard was for you. It just so happens that these are recorded and saved on the timeline, and they're also going up on YouTube. So it just so happens that you have the ability to go back and listen, but you heard what you were supposed to hear. You showed up when you were supposed to show up, and it is all good. So here, and here's the funny thing too, Stephanie, is I stopped wearing that doggone Fitbit because I you know, when you're conscious of the game that's being played and you decide you don't want to play the game.
Play it anymore.
So, and I'll tell y'all this, and then we'll get into the thing. Yesterday, this woman calls while I was doing something else, right? Day before yesterday, it started off a couple of days ago. Somebody called and wanted me to participate in a survey. And I was like, it's not a good time for me. Call me back tomorrow. And she asked me, what's a good time? And I said, well, if you can call me back tomorrow at and I gave her a time frame, right? Gave her a time frame. And so, okay, I let it go and I didn't do that. Well, she did call back. Somebody called back the next day, but they didn't call back in the time frame. So now they're interrupting something that I was doing. But since I had said that I would do it, I was like, okay, let me do this. And I could feel the resentment rising up in me as I started doing it. And as I listened to the questions, I said, are you serious? I said, is this what this survey is about? And she was like, well, you know, it takes about 20 minutes. And I said, 20 minutes. I said, are you going to ask me about these same questions for 20 minutes? Oh, well, no, the questions will progress. So I answer some more questions, and I'm not even liking the way that the options are from the answers. And I said to her a couple of times, this is stupid, right? This is just, and still agitation. Then when she asked me a question like, do you think that the FDA held off on approving the vaccine until President Trump was out of office? I said, who is paying for this survey? That's what I asked her. And she was like, ma'am, I don't have that information here on my screen. You don't know who's paying you, right? So now I'm really irritated. So then the next two questions, I finally said to her, I said, this call is over. Are you sure? I said, I was like, I am very sure. Because, you know, there was like, sure, probably, not so sure, neither yes nor no.
Extremely sure. Number 6.
When I hung up the phone, I had to do some forgiveness work on myself. because I was saying, had I just told her in the first place, no, I don't want to do this today. I told y'all what time to call me. I'm busy now. Had I just told her that, I wouldn't have had that level of, you know, frustration. Yes, because you know, my holiness blesses the world. And so when I get caught up in that emotional stuff, I'm not being a blessing. So it was like, whatever.
But it's a practice to remind you to choose you.
Yes, to say in the first place, you know what? No, I don't want to do this. So yes, I didn't want to do it. And I started trying to do it anyway. And then I just got, ugh.
So I'm not bringing my highest self to the table.
Yeah. Yeah. So, okay. So we talked about the mice, we talked about stress and how stress impacts babies and fetuses. And we went through and we started talking about, this light really does work for me. So let me turn it back on. Yeah. We talked about the effects that all of this stuff has on different generations. And so we go from there. And let me see, where are we? The researchers insist that the altered behavior in the newborn rats is unrelated to the type of parenting the pups received in their mother. This particular study suggests that even if humans receive supportive parenting as infants, we are still the recipients of the stress of our parents' experience before we were conceived. So in the next chapter, he's kind of giving us this next chapter. He's saying we'll explore how siblings born to the same parents may inherit different traumas and led contrasting life despite sharing a similar upbringing. And we know that that is true, right? We see that played out in our families every single day.
Yeah. And when we do birth order work, that has a lot to do with it as well. That firstborn gets the stress and the anxiety of worry and perfectionism. Everybody comes from different homes, but there's these characteristics that come with that firstborn that is kind of like some very universal traits, that, and then the middle child, and then the last one. There's these traits that happen because there's a different level of circumstance that are going on a lot of times in a mother and a father's life at the time.
Yeah.
It's huge.
So now for some reason I have this, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, you're fine. I just said it's huge. That's all.
Okay. So for some reason I have this whole next paragraph marked off. So I don't know how you have it highlighted.
Page 39.
Page 38 into 39, that last bottom. And I don't know what this is about. So I'm going to kind of try to skim read through it and see what's here, right? In 2014, a study with rats at a certain university in Canada, researchers examined the effects of stress on pregnant mothers and its influence on preterm births. The findings revealed that stressed mothers delivered preterm babies and bore daughters who also had shortened pregnancies. So that's mother's generation, then the next generation, shortened pregnancies. The granddaughters experienced even shorter pregnancies than their mothers. 3 generations, right? That surprised the researchers most occurred in the 3rd generation. I'm sorry. Granddaughters.
What surprised?
Huh?
It says what surprised.
Okay, okay, that's behind my little holder. Granddaughters of stressed grandmothers had shorter pregnancies even when their mothers had not been stressed. Jerlyn, whatever that woman's name of, author of an article called, says a surprising finding was that mild to moderate stress during pregnancy had a compounding effect across generations. Thus, the effects of stress grew larger with each generation. I'm going to put Mertz believes that epigenetic changes are due to non-coding microRNA molecules. These findings could have implications for humans who are at risk for pregnancy or childbirth complications due to stress. Now, it's really interesting because when I was doing something yesterday, I was on this Zoom thing, and this woman that was giving the presentation, she stopped and she said, this could be triggering for some people, especially if you're white. And she says, not that Blacks and people of color wouldn't be triggered. She says, but they are accustomed to stress and trauma in their life. So they sit in these places easier. You, on the other hand, might be thinking that you about to wig out. And she was like, just relax and breathe. And I was thinking to myself, like, oh, that's an interesting acknowledgement. She was like, we are, and I mean, it's the truth. Mm-hmm. But she almost says it's like they have the epigenetically or the extra something that prepares us for stress and trauma that other people may not have or be accustomed to. And I think what she was talking about at the time, because I think I got caught up in my own thoughts about it. But at the time she was talking about something happened to her that she was like, she was walking along, life is normal, life is normal. And then she says, somebody came along and told me to get off my bike, stole my bike. And she was like, I was thinking that she was about to hyperventilate and die on the spot. She was like, that kind of stuff don't happen to white people. I was like, okay. And so she made it, I do believe that was the instance that she was talking about, but she made it seem like, yeah, that level of stress and aggression. And so then she went and took some classes. And part of the class work that she took was on how to defend herself. And so she says, all of a sudden, she says, I was someplace, and she says, I wasn't on a bike. She said, or no, she was on a bike. She got another bike, but she took a class on self-defense. And she says, and some guy, she says she was coming down the street, and she says some guy cut across the lane that she was in. And she says, and I found myself flipping him the finger. And she says, and when she was drawing her finger back, she was like, oh my God, who am I? Like, I've never done anything like that before. Oh my God, am I getting to be more assertive? Is that something that happens out of feeling? Out of the feeling that now I could defend myself or something like that. She was so amazed with herself. And so I thought the whole conversation, it was just kind of like, wow, that's interesting. It was kind of, yeah.
I think that's interesting that she had to so-called learn empowerment. She made a presumption that our trauma gave us empowerment when that is not what it is.
Right, Raymond. But the way she made it sound is almost like Black folks are born with boxing gloves on, so they're ready to go. But this is after hundreds of years of somebody, beating us
not
down.
Put on your boxing gloves. You better not. You better not.
Yes.
You better not be who you are.
Oh my gosh. And yes, I mean our
That's interesting. You see how that's just like this mix up bowl of vegetable soup. It's got so much. It's like I don't even know where to start with that.
it was I had a hard time sometimes being present because while I could relate to what she was saying,
Mhm,
I was like
mhm,
trying to constantly think about how I felt about it.
mhm.
I felt like, oh, what, how is that landing on me? How is
Yes.
that feeling?
I hope that other people were listening got that same little jolt because
Yeah,
those are the things we need to pay attention to what's going on with us for real, for real.
yeah.
And we're not like zoning out, like, oh, I wasn't even paying attention to that part. I just let it go, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah. But
Not that you got to do anything about it, but just know that
right.
that wasn't comfortable.
Well,
Or I don't
you know,
know.
I try not to sit in a space of getting offended about everything that,
Right.
you know, because I know that as I was listening to her, she wasn't trying to come from a place of
It
maliciousness.
didn't feel offensive. It felt
Right,
very presumptuous, but
right,
not offensive.
right. And coming from where I am, I know that not everybody in our community feels as assertive as some of us feel.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
know that there have been times in my life then where I have not felt that.
Mm-hmm.
There have been times in all of our lives where we look at our opponent and we just throw it down like, oh, yep, you won. I don't even have to go
Exactly.
through the struggle of it, right? You already won. A friend of mine's, Larry Skinner, had told me one time, I do believe it was Larry Skinner, who and I only say his name because he's passed, and sometimes I just think that I need to say people who've passed, I need to say their name. But he told me, he says that every time he walked in the room, he says, what I do is, he says, I look around the crowd and he says, I look at what the pecking order is, who I got to beat. If something was to jump off, what's the pecking order in this room? Who's going to be the biggest mofo in here? Right.
I've heard that before from a man.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And he says that's how he scans a room. And he says, and as I got older, he says, I got further down on the pecking order list, you know? And he says, and that's disconcerting. He says, because then what is that you got to start using something different,
Yes, that's right, baby.
right? You gotta, you gotta get allies, and you gotta approach people different as you get older, because you can no longer whip the biggest guy in the room. And so I used to think that that was an interesting observation to consider. I don't see adversaries when I don't see adversaries. I don't think in terms of enemies, or I don't concern myself with who likes me or who doesn't like me or what they think about me. That's not in my scope of thinking. But now I would be disingenuous if I didn't say that when I walk into a room, I automatically count how many other Blacks are there. And I always know how many other people of color are there. Always. It is something that is just in who I am. So I know. I know already. You don't have to, and even the people who I may be like, we sometimes do that. Could they be? Right? But I always know. I scan and I immediately know, okay, I'm the only one of me here. And I'll think out of 500, I'm the only one here. Out
That's
of
my
two,
life story.
Yeah, I'm the only one here. I always know. But
Mhm,
not because
mhm.
and I'm not gonna say I don't feel safe in those spaces. I'm just saying that I know, I'm aware. Okay.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I'm always the it's interesting because I'm quite often the only I don't know, there's only been two places of employment that I've worked with my people. Everybody else is I've always been the only, even currently what I'm doing right now, the only. Um, and it's weird because then when I'm in a collaboration with my community, I feel like the only. Isn't that
That's
crazy?
interesting.
Yeah, I have to work through that all the time. And I don't know what it is. It's just it is what it is. But
Uh-huh.
mhm.
That is really interesting. Um, Whew. I, I
So
mean, I don't
I
know.
don't warm up as easy as people might think I do when I'm in crowds of unless it's an intellectual crowd. I don't know, it doesn't matter whether it's all of us or a mix or whatever. I present different. I don't know. There's a level of comfortability that I have. But when I'm just in a common, even sometimes, not now, but in the beginning, especially once I came back home after being gone for 30 something years, even amongst my own family, I felt like, wow, I'm different. It's not just the color of my skin. So I don't know. It's maybe energy for all I know. Now that I understand the that how long and impactful energy is, it could just be, now in hindsight, I'm sharing that with you right now. It could have just been an energy difference that I was
Right.
seeing because I wasn't so aware of how aware I was about energy until these last 4 years.
Uh-huh.
Um, that I've become more aware of the energetic presence that people bring into a space.
Uh-huh. Okay, so wait a minute. So good morning, Juan.
That's
Good
a new
morning,
name.
Kim. Huh?
I said, that's a new name, Juan.
Yeah, well, he's been on here before.
Oh, okay. Good morning.
Yeah, he is actually Jessica's cousin. And so I don't know if he was on here when I started talking about Jessica, but yeah. And so then so I it's not coming up on my Facebook feed over here.
That's
So
awesome that you got the notion to look at your phone.
yeah. So Everett said, "Great morning, trusting the you."
That's awesome that you got to.
Okay, he says, "Trusting the universe has blessed you with peace of
Yes.
mind and spirit." I do that too, but I refuse to work harder just because I am the only person that looks like me in the room.
Yeah, no. Yeah, I don't do that either.
I
Because
just try
I'm
to,
such an observer. I don't hardly work at all. I'm always looking, listening.
yeah. Well, I think I try to show up in
Yes,
my
you do.
authenticity.
Hmm.
That's the only thing, the only difference that I perceive myself as making is how much I show forth. But now I'm saying that I find it intriguing that you feel that way because um of this idea of, one of the things that I am constantly aware of is that just because there is something that I value and I think is important, like what we're doing here, doesn't mean that if I take this into an arena where people look like me, that they'll accept what I'm doing here.
I know.
And so I recognize that I see life through a different lens at times, but that doesn't make me feel as if I am not included in one of them. I just feel like what I do, and this is how I guess I perceive a lot of the arenas that I go in. I walk in the door, and say, for instance, if the hat that I'm wearing or the cloak that I've been grooving on is epigenetics, I hang it up on the hook and say, I'll be back. Right. And I go in there and I blend in and I do, when in Rome, I do as the Romans do. I'm going to be fully present and all of that other stuff. I got all of this information, and it may be ding and ding, 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 ding. I want to say, oh, that's what so-and-so used to do. Oh, that's what I know where that came from. Oh, I could see all of the stuff as it's working out together, but it's over there on the hook. Because I'm going to tell y'all, one of the things that I used to hate is the folks that, and no offense if this is you, but I used to hate when them Amway people came in the room and wanted to take advantage of folks just because they in the room, or somebody who all of a sudden want to start saving souls. This is not the arena for that. I just be like, we here, this the posse, we here having fun, we getting our whatever we getting our on. If we getting our drinky drink on or our conversation on, leave that mess out there. And that's how I do almost everything. I got some friends who, when I walk in the room, they want to like try to run down, oh, this is saying, and she's a minister and she's this and she's that, and it changes the room automatically. Right? If you say, oh, she's a minister, or oh, she's got a radio show, people start straightening up and sitting up in their chair and acting like they on an interview. Don't do that to me. Don't do that to them. Let's just be. Right? So that's what I try to do. I try to go into the room and melt into the room. That's me.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's me.
I'm already dead in the water. First time somebody says I'm a therapist. That's what I loved about working at Progressive. Be like, oh, what do you do? Oh, I'm a claims adjuster for Progressive. And I would hang on to that forever. I would never say I'm a licensed psychotherapist or no.
Yeah.
Now I don't care. Today I don't care, because what's for me is for me. Who's supposed to be in my circle is for me. So but I'm also an observer when I go into a space, and I'm not as, I'm not, I think my presence is bold, because I would be lying if I say I'm not bold, because I can feel the boldness when I walk into a space, but it doesn't, I can sit with myself and just be here looking, but I do have that watch where people are like, oh, she's a therapist, and now the conversation has to be different, or first thing, people don't be analyzing me. Well, then don't talk to me, because it is what I do. That's why I chose this profession, because I was born with this ability to do. It's what I do. I can just see, but we are all doing it. I'm not doing anything special. I'm just being. What does that mean? I can't analyze you if you don't tell me anything to analyze. It's just really a weird, I even hate what I feel right now defending it. But that's the experience that you get when it's like, I hope you're not analyzing me. Like, no, I'm just a housewife. How about that?
See, you know what? So I guess the advantage that I have is that I really don't care. Like, so say for instance, I got somebody that is analyzing me. I really don't care your assessment, right?
Mm-hmm. But it's that statement that you made about, like, don't do that to me, and that's the same experience, because you don't want to have the experience of people needing the need to sit up in their chair, or to imagine that you perceive or desire a certain type of company, when all will do.
Yeah, I don't. So I think that when people do find out certain things, like if it is something, I think I go out of my way to try to put them at ease and at comfort, because I don't want you to be different around me. I don't want you to feel that way around me. Um, I don't care if you think it's respect or what it is. I want people to just be who they are around me. And I ought to be able to hold that. I ought to be able to, in the space where I am, I ought to be able to come and just accept you as you are and be
Yes.
as I am,
Yes.
without all of the needing to act as if I got some kind of corner or awareness.
Exactly. Because it's not true anyway. Just for the record.
Yeah, that's over there on my hook. I hung it at the door. When I come in here, I'm just saying, I'm girlfriend. That's who I am. Everett said, that's why I just give your name and let the conversation or coming ground drive the energy of the moment. Yes, common.
Mm-hmm. Common ground. Yeah.
Yeah, because and I had a girlfriend that was like that. She's a medical doctor, and she was always because I'm a person that likes to introduce other people. And so she was always on guard about, like how what am I gonna say, or how are people gonna, and I this is so and so. And that, sometimes people look at you like, and we did time together, right? And she looks at me like, girl, but I can say that I know Stephanie from church. I don't have to say I know Stephanie and she's
Right.
It's just this one of my girlfriends. This is my, I say this is my sister. This is my cousin. This is my running buddy. This is my ride or die. This my boo. This my whatever it is. But I don't have to tell. I don't particularly like calling people by their professions anyway.
Right.
That's not. Yeah, whether you're proud of it or not. I don't walk in a room and say, I tell people, this is my little brother. I don't have to tell people anymore about this, my little brother. I don't need to tell you what he do. It's sufficient. What same womb I came out of, he came out of too.
That's enough, right? That's enough proudness. I say yes.
So
I say yes.
Oh my goodness.
This was good.
Yeah. Anyway, I didn't get to this next section here. So we're gonna knock this one out
Good
tomorrow.
Friday, yeah. You'll be doing family. I have to chime in though. I'm gonna try my best to keep myself.
So anyway,
Yes. Okay. Yeah. I have so much to say, but I don't need to say. I need to honor this time that's been given to me.
of course. But but also then too respecting what comes up in the moment.
I will.
Because here's the other thing that I know. Like okay, so I'm gonna say this. I start out with the intention of doing a certain thing. Like I think I shared with you, I tried to do one of those fasts that they do at that one church over there around the solstice. And the fast was a week-long fast, but there was a 3-day lead in and a 3-day out, right? And so to me, it was a good commitment, but we were doing the master cleanse system.
Okay, yeah.
And so I started with the lead in, And then I started drinking the stuff and all of that stuff. And about 4 days in, I could feel the changes in my body, but I also felt like I was having some instability. I was having some, some serious meditations. And so while people were, talking about this, like we got to stay the course and we making phone calls to support one another. I was in my meditation one morning and I'm saying, saying all kind of stuff, having this conversation with God. And the question came up, well, who told you to do this fast? And I was like, well, what do you mean? I'm doing this because, because a spiritual awakening, a spirit. Well, who told you you needed to do that? That was one of those questions, right?
Mm-hmm.
I thought that and I'm just sitting up there like, really? I was like, yeah, why am I doing
Who's
this?
doing it? Yeah, yeah.
Am I doing this because somebody else told me that this was gonna get me closer? Am I doing this because somebody said, somewhere it said, why am I doing this? And girl, I got up and I cooked me something to eat.
Just what I needed.
I was like, yes, my tongue has turned pink. Yes, I feel as if I have gotten some of the impurities out of my body. Yes, I felt like I've done all of that. I drank that salt water that went through me. My bowel movements was coming out clean. I'm done now. I was like, 4 days, I'm done. And my one girlfriend that was doing it with me, she was like, but. I was like, but nothing, right? I'm done. She's trying to tell me something, and I'm like, right, like what part of done don't you understand? And there is no convincing me once I'd have made up my mind. So anyway, it was after that, it wasn't even 2 weeks after that that she ended up in the hospital with some crazy, well, maybe it was a little more than 2 weeks, but with some crazy stuff. She ended up landing in the hospital for almost 3 months. It was some craziness, and I was like, see, I don't know, but I had detected that we used to do all kind of stuff. We were prayer partners, and there was a group of us, and we would meet. And one night when I was laying hands on her, we were doing prayer work around her. We used to do all kind of stuff, right? We would candle each other's ears, and we would teach ourselves Reiki. We would do all kind of stuff. So anyway, one day when I was praying over, I had my hands on her shoulders, and I said, I feel some congestion right here in your solar plex. And I couldn't figure out what it was. And so when she ended up going in the hospital for that 3 months, it was whatever that confusion was that was in there, that mass that I felt. It was her dealing with that. And I was like, yeah, I saw it, but we don't have no name for that. We don't have no name for that or what it was about. But yeah, it was there. It had been there.
Mm-hmm. Which makes sense why she would be desiring to do a master cleanse in that, cleaning that area out, even though that's the area of self. It would be interesting to hear her story. But yeah, that's good. That's
yeah, but you know what? One of the things that one of the amazing things about that is that part of her coming out on the other side of that was like, yeah, that's one of the hardest experiences that she's ever been through, but one of the biggest growth experiences that she's ever been through too. People will talk about the blessings of cancer or the blessings of a dis-ease, because if you stay present and actually go through that, here she is years later, and she just fine, living life just fine. So, but it's the blessing of the.
So I will keep my ears open and listen, and I'm gonna remember, because I have a tendency in hindsight to be like, well, what did I tell you the first time? So that's why I'm like, okay, I am gonna sit in this, because for me to step away in the middle of something is absolutely not firstborn behavior at all. This is like, girl, what are you doing? Like, but my theme for 2020 is, what if I'm right about this? So 2022 is, what if I'm right about this, as opposed to, what if I'm wrong about this, or I better be cautious, or that's not the right thing to do. That's not the rule. So now it's like, okay,
Yeah, do
happens,
what you
but I will
like, dear.
definitely be listening. Huh?
Do what you like, dear.
I
You know,
am. I
I
am.
I I am so honored and appreciative of walking this walk with you. So,
I'm
you
here.
know,
I'm
you got
excited.
no wrong. I got no criticism. I'm just like, oh, I missed you. But whatever. It's all good. I'll be right here.
I know. And I'm so grateful.
I'll be right here in my seat. 7:30-ish.
7:30-ish. That's all right. All
Uh,
right, good people. I'm heading down to the clinic.
yes, 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 yes,
Yes. And
yes.
thank you for your prayers, and thank you for this amazing day. So a terrific Thursday. We'll see
Love
you
and
in the
blessing.
morning.
All right. All right.
Bye-bye.
Bowing deeply. Bye.
Yes.
All right, y'all. So now it is time for us, I guess, to bring this to a close. There is there's this part of 39, this bottom page, part of the page 39 that I'm, trying to get to. And we'll work our way through that and then see what comes up next, all of that good stuff when it comes up. I just appreciate these conversations, and I hope that through them, they help you better navigate whatever it is that you may be looking at in your lives. So, and the 21st is the date that we are doing another group come together. Get together on Zoom. So I'm excited for that too. All right, y'all. But it's gonna be 7. It's gonna be 8, right? Not 10. It's gonna be 8 o'clock. So all right. So I love you. Thank you so much for being here. Deep amazing blessings to you, and I will see you tomorrow, God willing, and the creek don't rise. All right. It just seemed like I got something else to say, but I can go. Bye.